welcome to Rising. Thank you for starting off your week with us. Briahna, you had a nice weekend?
I did. I did and I didn't. I went to Philly, had a great time, went to the big game. We didn't do so well.
No.
But we still have a great record, and I'm looking forward to games in the future.
I had a lot of friends there, too. Everybody was at this game. Yeah. I was bummed to miss out.
And we all left damp and disappointed, but the spirit will renew itself. We got this.
Well, it was a good weekend for my Wolverines. This is the year, everybody. All right, what are we talking about?
Well, outside of the context of sports in the field, electoral politics is off and running. House Republicans have turned up the heat on their impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Here is Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer over the weekend.
Do you feel that you have the votes within the House right now to get a formal impeachment inquiry?
I do. And I had a reporter ask, well, what's changed? You know, because the press has been writing we didn't have the votes forever. And I said, well, I'll tell you one thing that changed. We were in Washington, D.C. for 10 weeks, and there are about 15 or 20 moderates that they really worry about what CNN says or what the Washington Post writes. And they were getting in their head, Maria. But a great thing happened during Thanksgiving. The members went home. Many of them for the first time and circulated for the first time in over 10 weeks. And they met people in Walmart and people on Main Street. And they're like, what in the world have the Bidens done to receive millions and millions of dollars from our enemies around the world? And did they not pay taxes on it? So they heard from their constituents, yes, we want you to move forward. We want to know the truth. And we expect the Bidens to be held accountable.
It seems Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is all in on this renewed push into President Biden and his son Hunter's foreign business dealings. Here he is on Fox this weekend.
You, as the Speaker, with that power, plan on bringing an actual vote on impeachment?
It's become a necessary step. Elise and I both served on the impeachment defense team of Donald Trump twice when the Democrats used it for brazen partisan political purposes. We decried that use of it. This is very different. Remember, we are the rule of law team. We have to do it very methodically. Our three committees of jurisdiction, Judiciary, Oversight, Ways and Means, have been doing an extraordinary job following the evidence where it leads. But now we're being stonewalled by the White House because they're preventing at least 2 to 3 DOJ witnesses from coming forward, a former White House counsel. The National Archives, the White House has withheld thousands of pages of evidence. So a formal impeachment inquiry vote on the floor will allow us to take it to the next necessary step. And I think it's something we have to do at this juncture.
The White House, of course, says that the House Republicans' inquiry is a nothing burger and a distraction. Spokesman Ian Sams writes on Twitter, how baseless and shamelessly politically motivated is the illegitimate House GOP impeachment stunt against President Biden? Mike Johnson admitted 3 weeks ago that there is no evidence to support a formal impeachment. So I saw a lot of people talking about the Walmart line as if this is evidence of some kind of manufactured situation. There wasn't enough evidence, and now there is because you heard from people at Walmart. But what he was really saying is there was not necessarily enough political will to do so, and according to him, some of the Republican members who are not okay with doing this yet heard from constituents in their districts in places. I think Walmart is a stand-in for a lot of normal places you would encounter a Republican primary voter who does want them to proceed with this inquiry. So it's about the political calculation, not the underlying evidence.
Polls do suggest that while a majority of registered voters do not want Republicans to move ahead with an impeachment hearing, 56% of registered voters say Congress should not hold hearings. 39% say it should. That's from a poll taken at the end of September.
Of overall voters.
Overall voters. Only 30% of GOP voters say that Biden shouldn't be impeached. The majority of GOP voters actually are for it. So, I mean, there is a way that the Walmart story could be a little bit apocryphal or kind of cherry-picked, if you will. I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I would like to know more, though, because it can be the case that people are for an idea without that idea being anywhere near the top of their priority list. And so what you're seeing, for example, with the Democrats is that abortion not only is something that Democratic voters and many conservative and independent voters support the right to have, to do, but they also are motivated to go to the polls on that particular issue more so than other issues that they might say, yes, I support, but it might not actually be mobilizing. So the question is, in the grand scheme of all of the debates that are happening right now, if focusing on impeachment is going to really help Republicans, or if there's some other kind of issue, maybe focusing on Bidenomics, that would actually give them more bang for their buck.
But let's remember that this isn't impeachment. We're not talking about an actual vote to impeach Biden. We're talking about an inquiry. We're talking about having more power to investigate this matter. Representative Comer, the House Oversight Committee, has taken the position that they have these documents about shell companies that were assembled when Biden was the vice president, that they have more witnesses they want to talk to about the extent of his knowledge of Hunter Biden and how much pressure there was on from the Ukrainian and Chinese interests, and that in order to more fully vet that matter, we need to approve this inquiry. We haven't seen all of this evidence. We haven't heard from all of these people. And I understand the, boy who cried wolf kind of concern. But they say there's more evidence to uncover, and this is the course of action they need to do to take that. Again, if I'm a Republican who's very concerned about Joe Biden and has some legitimate suspicion about Hunter Biden and this entire arrangement, I could very well see myself putting pressure on one of the more moderate Republican holdouts to be like, no, we want this fully investigated. There needs to be an inquiry.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, so the way it was characterized, Mike Johnson's earlier position on this, that he was sitting down with moderates who had spent too much time in Washington and didn't realize what the appetite for this was back in their district, was that those moderates were overly concerned with what was being said on MSNBC or CNN, that they were, Rhino adjacent. Like, that seemed to be the implication. But when you look at the actual reporting, and I think it was Vanity Fair, that actually talked about, Mike Johnson seeming to recognize that an impeachment push wasn't necessarily supported by the facts. It wasn't something necessarily that Republicans should want to pursue. That it also has to do with the fact that Biden is failing on so many other metrics right now. His poll numbers are already in the tank because of some combination of people having the perception that his economic policy has failed, people having the perception that he doesn't have the cognitive ability or stamina to complete another term. With all of the reasons that you can beat up on Biden, is taking this one, which could be characterized by liberals as a witch hunt, as a politicization of a legal process, something that actually could cause Democrats to want to circle the wagons and to be defensive of Biden again. Is that the best way you want to hit him? And I don't think that is about kowtowing to MSNBC talking heads. I think that's a legitimate strategic concern. And to the extent that whether it's people in Walmart or just other more, let's say, right-wing Republicans who want to weaponize the idea of a person in Walmart to get this impeachment push, I think it's worth taking a beat and considering whether it's the best strategic position for Republicans to take.
I mean, look, they certainly should not stop talking about the economic situation. They should continue to call attention to Biden's age and cognitive issues, as this is an issue that even seems to resonate with Democrats, with Democratic voters feel the same way about it. Many of them do. So I absolutely hear you on continuing to talk about those things. That said, again, this is just an inquiry, and we've already seen some, we haven't seen evidence that would lead you to vote for an impeachment, but we've seen evidence that the statements Biden made about the knowledge of his son's business is not in keeping with reality. And even the mainstream media has had more interest, frankly, in the Hunter Biden story, as so many of the earlier, nothing to see here kind of trying to wall it off from legitimate discourse has collapsed. And so given that Republican voters have to be excited enough too. Obviously, they got to bring in Democratic voters or swing voters, moderates in the states. That's important to do. But Republicans have to be. People who dyed-in-the-wool Republicans have to be excited enough about what the party is offering, and this was a main thing that a lot of these people ran on.
I mean, one part of this...
The inquiry, again, just the proceeding with an investigation.
I mean, so the thing about the inquiry, and we talked about this before, is that at a certain point, if you're just saying, you keep saying, what if there's something there, what if there's something there, what if there's something there, and nothing ever turns up, at a certain point, it might seem like you're the bad faith actor. And on top of that, part of the benefit of the inquiry into Hunter Biden seemed always to be to create some parallels between what Donald Trump is going through with his 4 indictments and Joe Biden saying, well, everybody's bad, so don't be too hard on Donald Trump for having to go through these legal issues. But again, at a certain point, if Donald Trump's legal issues are moving forward in substantive ways, and he's got co-conspirators flipping on him, and he's sitting there giving testimony in trial, and it seems to be the same nothing burger with the Hunter Biden story, I do wonder if that too could backfire on Republicans. That's all.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and we'll see, and we'll have more Rising right after this.